Johnny here for Johnny's Car Care and Advice. So today let's talk Bronco dimensions. And I'm not just going to be throwing out numbers because, when I'm thinking that something's, 71.9 inches high or 179 inches long, that doesn't mean very much to me. I really need a real world comparison. So in today's video, what I'm going to be doing is using, a full-size F150 to compare that to how many, what kind of dimensions we're dealing with the Bronco. I am going to talk about how many inches. I will give specific numbers, but big part and the whole goal of this video is to really get an idea in the real world how long, how high, and how wide the new two-door and four-door Broncos are going to be. I really want to figure out, what kind of stance is the Bronco going to have? Is it going to be wide? Is it going to look wide? Is it going to have an aggressive stance because it's high and wide? And really all this information is going to help, hopefully, all of us figure out, whether we want a two-door Bronco, whether we're willing to pay the extra money to have the four-door Bronco, and really what height of Bronco we need to have, the stance and the aggressive look that we're looking for. Now, of course, if you're an off-roader and you're gonna do some serious off-roading, it's pretty straightforward, it's pretty easy. You're gonna go for a Badlands model or you're gonna go for a Wildtrak. But, for everyone else, where we're not just concerned about ground clearance and brake angle, for everyone else, I think a real world video comparing to a full-size F150 is really going to help. And also in regards to numbers, in case you have a Wrangler, I will talk about Wrangler dimensions versus the Bronco. And in case you already have a Ford Ranger or you have access to a Ford Ranger, we're going to be looking at that Ranger dimensions as well. So to give us the best comparison, something that a lot of you can go ahead and do, either go to a Ford dealership or a Jeep dealership, because we'll be comparing the widths and the various dimensions of the new two-door and four-door Bronco to both the F-150, the Jeep Wrangler, and just briefly as well to the Ranger. So when you're looking at the width of the new Bronco base and Big Bend models, the width is going to be 75.9 inches. Now, if we compare that to an F-150, an F-150 is 79.9 inches wide. So there is going to be a difference there. However, if you get the Wildtrak model, now that is the most expensive Bronco model. It's the one that comes lifted on 35-inch tires, or to be exact, 34.4-inch tires. It's 79.3 inches, so almost no difference to the width of an F-150. But if we do compare that 79.9 inch difference with the 75.9, we're only talking about 3.5 inches. So when you compare that to the overall width of an F-150, it still shows that the Bronco is going to be really wide no matter what model you get, and that'll help it really have a good aggressive stance. So to give us a really good idea of the dimensions of the two-door and four-door Bronco coming up, they haven't been released yet. Very few people have been able to actually put their hands on one, stand beside one, or get inside of one. I think the best thing is to use a real-life example of something that's pretty common, one of the world's most sold vehicles. It's conquered the sales of trucks the way that hopefully the Bronco will conquer the off-road. But when we look at the length of an F-150 compared to a Bronco, we get a really good idea of whether this Bronco is going to be massive, whether it's going to have a good large stance, and what kind of length it's going to have. So the two-door Bronco is going to be 173.7 inches long, or 14.5 feet. And the four-door is going to be 1.5 feet longer at 16 feet in length, or a total of 189.4 inches. Now, visually, that doesn't mean much to me unless I'm actually in front of something real. Here we have the F-150. That means the four-door Bronco is going to end right here on an F-150. That's about the middle of the wheel well. So you line it with the middle of the wheel. That's going to be the length of the four-door Bronco. And the two-door Bronco is going to end right at the beginning of the gas tank. So that really gives you a good idea of the two-door and four-door Bronco. And what's more is, maybe you already have a Wrangler at home. Well, if you have a Wrangler at home, then comparing is going to be really easy, because a four-door Wrangler is 1 inch shorter than the four-door Bronco. And if you have a two-door Bronco at home and want to compare that to the upcoming two-door Bronco, well, then you're looking at 9 inches shorter. So actually quite a big difference. The two-door Wrangler is 166.8 inches in length versus 173.7 inches in length for the two-door Bronco. So hopefully that this real-world comparison will help give you an idea of the dimensions of the Bronco. So real-world height for the upcoming Bronco. Let's compare it to this F-150. Now, an F-150's height is 77.3 inches. Now, to give you a comparison, I'm 5'10". Here's the height of the F-150, and if we compare that to a Bronco base model, the Bronco base model is going to be 71.9 inches. So it's about 6 inches less than what we have right here. Now, if you get the four-door soft top model, they're going to be 73 inches in height versus a Big Bend. A Big Bend is coming in at 72.9 inches, whether you get the two-door or the four-door model. So just, to keep in mind, on certain models, whether you get a four-door or a two-door, you're going to have a difference in height, which will give really a difference in appearance, how aggressive the vehicle looks. And speaking of aggressive stance, the Wildtrak is going to have an incredible stance. It's coming in at 75.2 inches. So that's a good amount higher. It's about 4 inches higher than the base model. Now, if you want to compare with anything else, I think a Ranger makes a good comparison point. That they do share the same platform, but a Ranger is 71.5 inches high. So if you find the Ranger to be too low, not high enough of a vehicle, well, right off that the base model or Big Bend model probably isn't the right model for you, and you'll either want to go with the Badlands at 73.8 inches. So that's about 2 inches higher than a Ranger, or just go all out with the Wildtrak at 75.2 inches. Now, 75.2 inches versus the height of this F-150, there's only a 2 inch difference. So to give you an idea, 2 inches, you'd be looking at coming up to about the door sill. So Wildtrak's definitely going to have a really good stance. So with the Bronco two-door and four-door being almost as wide and almost as high as an F-150, I think it's safe to say that we've got a really great model coming up. It's going to be aggressive. It's going to have a really aggressive stance, and I think this is a vehicle that people, once they see it in the flesh, in the real, they're going to love the new Bronco. And I think Ford's done a good job in making this both longer, wider, and a little higher than the Wrangler. So if you have a Wrangler, or you have access to a Wrangler and you already find its dimensions great, well, guess what? The Bronco is just going to have more of an aggressive stance because it's going to be wider. It's not going to be that much longer in four-door version, but in two-door version, there really is a very nice difference. It's 9 inches longer in two-door version, so I think we've got a great model coming up. I think it's going to be worth the wait, and a little update on the wait. As of hopefully May, according to Ford.com, you're going to be able to go into a dealership and really get the final paperwork set up and have a good idea of when these vehicles are coming in. But likely we're probably looking at, I would say, probably dealers being able to order them in May, quite possibly, for an arrival in July or August. So I hope this video has been helpful. I hope that it's given you a good idea of what kind of dimensions that we're dealing with, and to really give you, hands-on, being able to go in the real world and see an F-150, Ranger, or Wrangler and really get a great idea of, what dimensions we're dealing with. So until next time, thank you very much. If you've watched the video to the end, thank you very much. And if this has been helpful, please like and subscribe.